don't know nobody on this road that can save your soul. Almost lost control now. Tell me what you need in a friend and now. Pray that we endure to the end again. I'm just saying that I'm here for you. When the world turn against you, I'ma be with you. Got my sword in my hand, you can count on me. I won't run and hide, fight mightily.
Waiting on O.F.I. See the Jacob, I'm the apple of my father's eye. I learned the truth for who I was and it made me cry. If I don't keep the laws of Yah, then I'm gonna die. Living curses, but I'm edifying in my verses. Prepare the hearses for the heathens who be steady
Khan. Call of Yahweh by Shema Mashek, woman like O.F.I. First and foremost, want to give all praises, glory, and honor to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so in the name of his only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahushai, our King and our Messiah, who the world ignorantly calls Christ. On this Man of Mondays, we get into it. Gentile salvation on the rise. We've been hearing a lot of doctrines and things about Gentile salvation in the sense that the Gentiles, the other nations, are going to have the same hierarchy and the same benefits and be a part of the same covenant as the children of Israel. So last Man of Mondays, I believe we touched a little bit on this similar subject, going into who the lost sheep were, based on the precepts and based on the true biblical understanding, right? Who the Yahweh Shai, the world calls Christ, come for as well. So this week, we're going to dive into the covenant, right? The covenant is very important because the covenant was with the children of Israel and still is this day. So if Yahweh Shai was sent only to the lost sheep, which we read in Matthew 15 and 24, the next question is why? The answer is simple, because the covenant was made with Yasha'Allah. Even when we go back to Romans 9 and 4, if we go back to Exodus 24, we go back to Psalms 147 verses 19 and 20, Joel 2 and 27, Amos 3 and 1, Amos 2 and 11, 2nd Ezra 6 and 54, Revelation 7, Ezekiel 37, and so forth and so on. We see that the covenant has always been and only been with the children of Israel, right? So let's get to it. The covenant was made with Yasha'Allah and no one else. That's why in Joel 2 and 27, it says, "You are my people, the Lord thy God," Joel 2 and 27, that the Most High God has made us his people and no one else, and we should never be ashamed, right? Yahweh chose a specific people, made specific promises to specific patriarchs. He didn't make a covenant with everybody. The covenant started with one man, the patriarch. And patriarch is very important because we see the promise coming through a lineage from Yahweh, from Yahweh directly to Abraham, right? Directly to Isaac, directly to Jacob, all through the patriarchs. We see that. We don't see Yahweh making a covenant with everybody, even in antiquity, even in the ancient days, when it came to establishing a covenant with Abraham. Abraham wasn't an Israelite. You got to understand that. We understand that, right? Isaac wasn't an Israelite. We understand that. They were the progenitors of the Israelites. And then Jacob, right? Jacob wasn't an Israelite per se, because Israelite means to descend from the man Jacob. All right, but we understand the promise and the covenant was established with one man initially. Now we know that there was a covenant with Adam, so there's always been a chosen lineage, right? From that perspective, and we see that chosen lineage even rested upon Abraham, rested upon Isaac through Abraham's loins, and through Isaac's loins rested on Jacob, and Jacob becoming the patriarch of the promise. All right, and established the covenant with their seed forever, not for a day, not for a year, but forever. The scriptures are devastatingly clear. And the reason why we say devastatingly clear, this devastates a lot of people. Makes a lot of people lose their mind. A lot of people love the other nations so much that they will disannounce, right? And try to disavow the covenant that the Most High God made with them and their own people. Let's get into the Abrahamic covenant. Genesis 17, verses 7 through 9. The covenant begins with Abraham. The covenant begins with Abraham, right? We see Yahweh did not make a covenant with every nation. He made it with one man and his seed. So Genesis 17 and 7 through 9, and it reads, "And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee, in their generations, from an everlasting covenant." Now this generations goes into the offsprings, to generate, to procreate. The offsprings of Abraham, which is Isaac, and then going through his line, Jacob, for an everlasting, that's eternal, covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. Now we know Abraham had many seeds, right? Abraham had, Isaac wasn't Abraham's only child. He had Ishmael as well. But the promise didn't go through Ishmael. "And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger," right? All the land of Canaan. This is where the promise originated from, way back in Genesis, the 17th chapter. "For an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations." And a token of that covenant was and is the circumcision. Look, between me and thee and thy seed after thee. The covenant is with Abraham's seed through Isaac and through Jacob. That's plain upon table. Not Ishmael, not Esau, right? Because Isaac had Esau and Jacob. And certainly not every nation on the planet. All right. The inheritance, Nakala in the Hebrew, belongs to the seed of the promise. The promise came through our patriarch Abraham, came through our patriarch Isaac, came through our patriarch Jacob unto his seeds, Nakala, right? The inheritance to be a peculiar people. Exodus 19, 5 and 6. At Mount Sinai is very important. Yahweh declares exactly what Yasha Allah is to him and what they are above all people. And then by the time we get to Exodus 24th chapter, you see the blood covenant, right? Exodus 19 and 5 through 6. Now, therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. Now, we're going to get right to it. A lot of people say, well, Israel did not obey his covenant, right? But that was a part of God's will. God knew that we would fall off, but a part of the plan was always to bring Christ as that perfect lamb, that sacrificial lamb for the children of Israel, to bring them or to graft them back into the fold, right? And at any time, even when we fell off, the Most High God never denounced us as his chosen people. He might have turned his back proverbially for a while and allow us to be oppressed and things of that nature for our disobedience, but he never said that we stopped being his people. In fact, he said the opposite. He said, as long as the moon and the stars are in the sky, and that there is a heaven and earth, that we will always be his people. Reading on. And he shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. Right? And then the classic, Deuteronomy 7 and 6 through 8. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people upon the face of the earth. Yahweh did not say his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people. But because Yahweh loved you, and because he would keep the oath, Yahweh's not a liar, he made an oath, which he has sworn unto your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Hath Yahweh brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed, he redeemed us, he brought us back unto himself out of the house of bondmen from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. So peep game, a peculiar treasure above all people, a special people unto himself, not regular, right? Not them regular, but a special above all people that are upon the face of the earth. That has to mean something. You can't throw that away. A lot of people read the Bible and say, look, that was in the Old Testament. The children of Israel, everybody's a child of Israel. No, you got to be bloodline, seed line, coming through the lineage, the loins, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yasha'Allah is Yahweh's Am. Am in the Hebrew, H5971, his covenant people, his Nakala, his inheritance. Not because they were great in number or because we were great in number, but because of his love and his oath to the fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And that's Bible talking to you. So, he have not dealt so with any nation. The classic, Psalms 147, and we're going to go to Amos 3:1 and Amos 2:11, right? These two scriptures alone shut down the entire argument that Yahweh's covenant is universal, right? Psalms 147, 19 and 20. He sheweth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nations. What does that mean? He hasn't given them his judgments. The judgments in the sense of his laws, statutes, commandments. Now they will be judged. And he sheweth his word. He sheweth his inheritance, his expectations upon the children of Israel. As far as his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh. They don't praise Yahweh. They don't know his judgments. They don't know the laws, the statutes, the commandments, the ordinances, the heritage, right? The prophecies. They don't know those things. Amos 3:2. You only have I known of all the families. When it goes into families, it's talking about all of the nations of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. La'ah. Go home. Go home. Salaki. Little puppy, you're running around. I will punish you for all your iniquities. He have not dealt so with any nation, not some nations. It said not with any nation, not most nations, any nation. The word, the statutes, the judgments, all given exclusively to Yasha'Allah, to Jacob. And Amos 3:2 seals it. You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Now, in context, does this mean that the Most High God doesn't know that he didn't create the other nations? No, it's not saying that. It's saying known in the context of Naka'Allah, of giving them the inheritance, giving them the covenant, right? Known Yada means intimate knowledge. Look, covenant, right? Relationship. Yahweh has this relationship with one family. And we know Deuteronomy 32:8 that he divided the nations their inheritance. He separated the sons of Adam, right? And he set his bounds according to the children of Israel. So that's that one family, right? That he gave the inheritance. Yasha'Allah. The election. Romans 9:1-8. Paul lays out the doctrine of election. Who the promises belong to, who the adoption belongs to, and who was chosen. So we going from the so-called Old Testament to even clarify it in the so-called New. And you got to remember when our beloved brother Paul was writing these epistles to the Israelites who were scattered across the four corners at that point in time, he wasn't walking around with the book of Romans. He was teaching out of the so-called Old Testament, right? So all of his teachings and writings in the so-called New Testament have to align with the so-called Old Testament because that's explicitly and exclusively what he was teaching from. For I wish, Romans 9:3-5, for I wish for I could wish that myself were accursed from Yahushua, for my brethren, my kinsmen, who are his brethren, bloodline Israelites, my kinsmen of that same family that we just read in Amos 3, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption. So the adoption only pertains to Israel. The glory only pertains of Israel. The glory of God, the glory of Yahushua. The covenants with an S, old and new, only pertain to Israel. And the giving of the law, that goes into the judgments, and the service of God, right? The Levites, the Levitical priesthood, us being a nation of kings and priests, as we read in Deuteronomy 19, and the promises. Whose are the fathers? We are the fathers. And whom, as concerning the flesh, Christ came. Christ came and died in the flesh for the children of Israel. Who is over all? God bless forever. Amen. So Paul lists what belongs to the Israelites and only the Israelites, no one else. All right. And only the Israelites. This is clear, plain upon tables, what Paul is saying, right? Plain upon tables, what Paul is saying only belongs to the Israelites. Paul lists what belongs. The adoption, right? Huthesia means adoption in the Greek. The glory, the covenants, the giving of the law, Thawarah, or Torah, as I would say, Thawarah, the giving of the law, the service of Yahweh, the promises, the fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? All the promises came through the fathers, right? And we know the Heavenly Father ultimately as well. Yahushua himself, of whom concerning the flesh, Hamashiach came. Hamashiach only came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. We went over that in Matthew 15 and 24 last week, right? All of this, every bit pertains to Yasha'Allah. This is Israel. Not all nations, not everyone who believes. The elect, all right, electos are Yasha'Allah. Psalms 50 and 5, the saints, the elect, all right, according to the foreknowledge. Romans 9 and 13, as it is written. They don't like this. Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. Now, let's just take this in context. How can you be the loved and the hated as a nation? How can the Most High God hate Esau, but then still choose him? It doesn't make sense, right? This is not figurative. Yahweh chose Jacob and rejected Esau. The election is not based on works or personal choice, or it's not based on skin color either. A lot of y'all think that it's based on skin color, and that's what we teach it. It's not based on skin color either, all right? It's by divine selection. Yasha'Allah is the chosen people. Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. Who are they today? Because people will teach you that, look, Esau doesn't exist anymore. They'll teach you that Esau is the Arabs, which if we look in the book of Lamentations and the prophecies, that wouldn't be correct. That wouldn't line up, right? Now, the question every churchgoer avoids in Christianity, they avoid, who is Jacob and who is Esau today? The Bible gives us physical descriptions and prophecies that identify them. Let Genesis speak. And the first came out red all over, like in hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Now, when you go into this, Esau came out red, the Hebrew word is Admonai, meaning ruddy, reddish in complexion, right? And there's like, I believe it's 25 different types of reds described in the Hebrew, and this will go into that earthworm red. Like you can see Esau's blood through his skin, right? That pigmentation. And hairy, Seir, like a hairy garment. This describes a specific phenotype. A person whose skin shows redness, who flushes, who turns red in the sun. This is not a dark-skinned or melanated person. Genesis 25 and 30. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom, or he wasted away. Therefore was his name called Edom, Adam, which means red. From the root Adam, H119, to be red, to show blood in the face, to flush. Esau equals Edom, which equals the Edomite nation, a people identified by their reddish complexion. Now, we're not saying that only by their reddish complexion. That's just an identifying phenotype, but we know it goes down to the seed line by patrilineal lineage, by the father, who your daddy is. The Edomites are identified as the European nations today, the so-called white man who has historically oppressed Jacob, the 12 tribes known as Yashala. The distinction. Now, I want you to realize when we go into this Genesis 25th chapter, right? And when they describe Jacob, they didn't have to describe Jacob because he looked like everybody else. But they had to describe Esau because he was an anomaly. He looked different than everybody else. Jacob, Yasha'ala, the covenant people identified today as the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans scattered in the Western Hemisphere. Now we say in the Western Hemisphere because we do know there are certain tribes like the Igbo, the Ashanti, and other tribes that are Israelites, but they're not on the Western Hemisphere, all right? Esau, Edom, rejected from the covenant, identified as the European nations who have historically and prophetically enslaved, raped, robbed, pillaged, and colonized Jacob, the children of Israel. Obadiah 1 and 18. In the house of Jacob, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, shall be a fire. In the house of Joseph, a flame. In the house of Esau, for stubble. And they shall kindle on them and devour them. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord have spoken. There's going to come a time that the Most High's judgment is going to be fulfilled in completion, where there will be no more Edomites left. That's thus saith the Lord, right? And let me tell you this, we know and we can show from the prophecies that this definitely is Esau, is the so-called white man, the European. However, let's entertain that it's the Arabs or whoever people want to say it is, right? Which we know is not. Let's entertain that. That means that they're not. There's going to come a point in time where whoever you think Esau is, which we know is the so-called white man, there's not going to be any more of the house of Esau. That means the lineage, the family. House goes into family. Like if you say Yahweh was from the house of David, he was from the family line of David. So there'll be no more remaining of the house of Esau. Yahweh have spoken. Malachi 1 and 2 through 4. I have loved you, saith Yahweh. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith Yahweh? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountain and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Now Esau's heritage is waste. Esau has no inheritance. It was laid waste. He sold his birthright, right? Where Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, and Esau is building. You got Trump Towers, you got America, Babylon the Great, you got all these manner of businesses and enterprises and, you know, trade and all of these things, right? Esau is rebuilding, but the Most High is going to ultimately throw it down and confound Esau, right? And America will even be a wasteland. They shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness and the people against whom Yahweh hath indignation forever. And I heard a brother say this, and I definitely agree with him, right? Is that a lot of people talk about, well, you know, it seems like you guys are just preaching hate and this. No, we actually preaching love, man. We preaching hate the ways of your enemies that has taught you to love the destruction of yourself. And love yourself in the laws, statutes, and commandments of your God, which should teach you to hate wickedness in the ways of the enemy. It's quite simple. They've tricked our mind, right? Obadiah prophecies, there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau. Malachi confirms with Obadiah, 2 witnesses. I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste, and the people against whom Yahweh hath indignation forever. It's not about one man. It said the people. Didn't say against Esau as just a man. Esau is the progenitor, and his offspring and his family are called the Edomites, right? As you see, Esau right here is the same as Edom, that H123. This is about the nations of descendants from Esau and their role in oppressing Jacob throughout history. You got to think, they said, raise it to the ground. You know, they caught us in the way when we was escaping. And they and they sold us, the Hamites sold us to the Grecians, which are the so-called white men. And we are against the African nations who sold us as well. It's not a skin color thing, y'all. A lot of people think that we're saying just because you're an Israelite, you're gonna make it automatically to heaven. A lot of you Israelites is wicked as hell. A lot of our people are wicked. You're gonna be destroyed right along with the other nations if they don't get it together, right? And what I mean by that is that we don't sit in that place of judgment. Some nations will be saved for the sword. Put it this way, some of the other nations will be saved for servitude. Some of the other nations will be saved purely for the sword. Esau, when it's all said and done, is going to be wiped off forever, pursuant to thus saith the Lord. Now, you can call me a liar, you can't call the Lord a liar. The new covenant, Hebrews 8:8 through 10, let's see who is for it. Because some argue that the new covenant opened things up for everybody. Well, that was the old covenant in Exodus 24. The children of Israel, they were God's chosen people. But by the time we get to the new covenant is for everybody. That's a lie. Hebrews 8:8 through 10. For finding fault with them. Okay, look, them. He saith, behold, the days cometh, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with who? The house of Israel and the house of Judah. That is the them, because he found fault with them in the old covenant that we broke, we didn't keep. That's why he made a new covenant. And Christ is the ushering in of the New Testament. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers. Okay. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Genesis 17. We just read that. He made a covenant with their fathers, the Israelites, in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt. More context. Who got led out of the land of Egypt? The Israelites did, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws in their mind. You got to think, this house of Israel right here is combining Israel and Jacob. Israel and Judah, likely. After those days, said the Lord, I will put my laws in their mind and write them upon their hearts. I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. So that's what this is going into. So read it carefully. I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not with everybody else. He didn't say the house of Ham. It sounds crazy, the house of Ham. The house of Esau, the house of Moab, the house of Ishmael, the house of Japheth. He didn't say that. We have to go with what the Most High says. You got to take your emotions out of it, right? The new covenant is with the same people that the old covenant was with. The house of Yasha'Allah, the house of Yehoiada, right? That's the house of Israel, the house of Judah. The new covenant does not change who it is for. It changes how the law is administered, because it's written in our hearts instead of the tablets of stone, right? So, getting to it, we went over Genesis 17 and 7 through 9, Exodus 9, 5 through 6, Deuteronomy 7 and 6, we're the special and chosen people, Psalms 147, 19 and 20, he showed his word to Jacob, his statutes and covenant unto Israel, Romans 9 and 4, the adoption, Amos 3 and 2, Amos 2 and 11 goes into that as well, right? Romans 9 and 13, Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated, who the new covenant is for, right? Which comes back the same thing as Jeremiah 31 and 31, and it's not for everyone, right? So according to Genesis 17 and 7, With whom did Yahweh establish his covenant? All the nations of the earth equally? Abraham and his seed after him and their generations? Only the tribe of Yahweh, which is Yahweh, which is Judah, or the Canaanites and the Philistines? Bam. We know it was only with Abraham and his seed after him, right? Well, Yahweh Shai, the guys say real quick, Jesus is God. Jesus is a God, but Jesus is not the most high God. And we can get on here and talk about it. If you want to come on, I'll definitely drop the link, right? Jesus is a God, but Jesus is not the most high God. Because if I ask you, does God have a God? You would say no, I'm sure. But I can show you where Jesus says he has a God, and this is in the book of Revelations in his glorified state when he was already ascended. So you can't play and say, well, that was just because he was on earth in his humanity, right? You got to watch people like that. Moving on. The covenant, true or false? Psalms 147, 19 and 20 says, Yahweh showed his word to Jacob and his statutes to Yasha'Allah, which are the children of Israel, and he have not dealt so with any nation. This is true. Salakia. What does Amos 3 and 2 say about Yahweh's relationship with Yasha'Allah? He knows all nations equally. He chose Israel last among the nations. You only have I known of all the families of the earth, or he will reject Israel and choose another people. You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Matching the covenant scriptures to his declaration, Exodus 19 and 5, right, goes to a peculiar people, a peculiar treasure above all people in the kingdom of priests. Deuteronomy 7 and 6 goes a special people unto himself above all people. Psalms 147, 19 and 20, you only have not dealt so with any nation. And Amos 3 and 2, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Bam. According to Hebrews 8 and 8 through 10, who is the new covenant made with? All believers, regardless of lineage, the house of Israel and the house of Judah, the Gentile churches in Rome and Corinth, the angels in heaven. It's going to be the house of Jacob, the house of Judah, and the house of Israel. True or false? Romans 9 and 13 says, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated, proving that Yahweh's election is specific, not universal. That's true, right? A lot of people want to say that that's false. What does Nakala means inheritance, right? Mean a temporary gift that can be taken away, an inheritance, possession, heritage allotted by Yahweh, a curse upon the nation, or a general blessing for all people, right? Bam. We know that goes into heritage. True or false? Deuteronomy 32 and 9 says the Lord portions is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance, meaning Yasha'Allah is Yahweh's personal possession. Now, of course, that is true, right? And the last four questions we're going to drop in the chat, most high willing, right? So facts, like you said, Yahweh Shai, Jesus is not the most high, right? That is a Christianized teaching based on Roman Catholicism, based on the Trinitarian, Trinitarian, right? That's not biblical, okay? It's not biblical. I want to show y'all something really quick. What? Let me show you something really quick. 1 second. 1 second. Because people don't like to see this, right? 1 second. Share my screen real quick. Let me get this classic, the Revelations. Get in KJV. We're gonna go Revelations 3 real quick, y'all. Bam, here it is. This is the cut right here. This is red letter. Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God. So this is Christ saying he has a God. If I ask you if the Most High God has a God, you're going to say, no, the Most High God does not have a God. So bam, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall no more, and he shall go no more out. And I will write upon him the name of my God, in the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of the heaven from my God. And I will write upon him my new name. So we know that the Most High God, Yahweh, does not have a God. And we see clearly that Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, has a God. And once again, this is not when he is in his humanity, because people will say, well, you know what? He lowered himself to be lower than God, but he really was God. No, this is when he's already ascended to the right hand of the Father. This is the book of Revelation. So this is in his glorified state. He's still making a separation between him, the Son, and Yahweh, the Father. So no, Jesus is not God, right? But all praise to the Most High, Yahweh Shem Mashiach, woman like Yahushai. Man, all praises, all praises, all praises. We'll pop this one out too. List what belongs to the Israelite. List what belongs to the Israelites. Which of these is not listed? The adoption, the glory, and the covenants, the giving of the law and the service of God, universal salvation for all nations, the promises made to the fathers. In Romans 9, you're not going to find universal salvation for all nations. And I'm going to show you what that goes into. It's something called supersessionism right here. Replacement theology, right? Supersessionism, often called replacement theology, is the Christian theological belief that the church has superseded, fulfilled, or replaced Israel as God's chosen people. It posits that the new covenant, which we just read that the new covenant was still only for the house of Israel and the house of Judah, so the northern and southern kingdom. But it posits that the new covenant through Yahweh Shai and Mashiach through Jesus Christ renders the Mosaic covenant obsolete, with the church inheriting the promises originally given to the nation of Israel. And this makes no sense. Even if we go to Revelations, the 7th chapter, Revelations, the 8th chapter, we see that the 144,000 are only 12,000 from all of the 12 tribes of Israel. We see that the gates, if we go into Revelations, the 21st chapter, we don't see, or is that Revelations 12, I believe? We don't know, 21st chapter. When we go in Revelations, the 21st chapter, we don't see one big gate. We see 12 gates with the names of the children of Israel, right? If we go with the church inheriting the promises, okay, the promises, last time I checked, had to come through the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And that was a forever covenant. It said, and his seed forever. So if you're a part of the multi-ethnic church and you're not from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, then how can you inherit the blessings and the promises that were perpetually promised and given by the Most High God, who does not change, to the children of Israel, right? So this is what supersessionism is, replacement theology. It's not biblical. Well, it's biblical in a sense that it's false doctrine, and the Bible says that there will be antichrist. Let's get to 2 Corinthians real quick, right? Because what you gotta, what did the Bible say? If any preach another Christ, right? Which we haven't preached, right? Let's get this. Let's get this 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians 11:4. I'm going to get it in the AMP. For you seem willing to allow it, if one comes and preaches another Jesus whom we have not preached, or if you receive a different spirit from the one you received, or a different gospel from the one you accepted. You tolerate all this beautifully, welcoming the deception. Well, look, we don't welcome the deception. We're not tolerating a new gospel. We're not tolerating a new Christ. We're not preaching a new Christ. We're preaching the same thing that our forefathers preached. The same salvation that's only for the children of Israel. So cut it out with all the madness, all of the lies, all of the false doctrines, all of the false teachings. We're not tolerating. All right. So with that, we want to give all praises, glory, and honor to the Most High God, Yahweh. The Most High is Yahweh. We will not give his glory to another, but we do so in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Christ. To the 12 tribes that scattered abroad, greetings. It's time to be turning up and fasting, praying, getting your household in order, making your calling and election sure. You cannot do it without keeping the commandments, and you can't keep the commandments without the Holy Spirit, and you can't get the Holy Spirit if you don't believe on Yahweh Shai. So you got to believe on Christ. You got to keep the law. You got to keep the faith. All right? Stay 10 toes down. Kwam Yashala.